Welcome to Studio 58A Live here at the Jamaica Information Service, our discussion program coming to you live on Facebook. I'm your host, Vaughn Davis. Thank you to everyone joining us online wherever you are around the world. We really do appreciate it. And as you watch, remember to send in your questions and comments so we can put them to our guests. And like how we have your attention, just do us the same favor we always ask. Share this video with a friend or two or 5,000 so we can have a very lively discussion. Now, many of you might know that film production in Jamaica goes back to the 1960s with the production of the James Bond film Dr. No. Since then, considerable effort has gone into getting more producers, directors, and talent to utilize Jamaica as a location for major motion pictures and television series as well. Not only that, effort has also gone into boosting the creation of local content to develop Jamaica's own film and television sector. While there have been numerous successes, there still remain several challenges to the process of entrenching local filmmaking and production. Here today to help us explore all the angles related to this topic are our guests. First of all, we have Tristan Alleyne, Senior Consulting Officer in Film, Animation and Music at the Jamaica Film Commission and JAMPRO.
Thank you.
Analisa Chapman, President of the Jamaica Film and Television Association. And Kevin Jackson, Jamaica Animation Nation Network President, right?
Yep.
All right, good. So make sure we got everybody's on camera, we can all see you. All right, so Tristan, I'm going to start with you. I just want you to give me a general overview of what the landscape of filmmaking and production in Jamaica is right about now. For somebody who might be hearing for the first time and just be wondering what's going on with filmmaking in Jamaica, what's the status, what's going on here?
Well, filmmaking in Jamaica is growing right now. I think we're in a very good place to see us take advantage of the kind of potential we all know is there for the film industry in Jamaica, just like the other creative industries like we've seen in the music. We did $1 billion Jamaican dollars in film production expenditure last year. That's destination filming, so that's one aspect of what JAMPRO does, which is facilitate incoming productions in Jamaica. So all film productions that come into Jamaica, they go through JAMPRO.
Right,
and that's how
right.
we're able to record them. We did about 125 productions, and we're at about 2,800 thereabout jobs annually, temporary, permanent jobs annually. And that's just destination filming. We don't do a good job of recording local productions. That's because they don't necessarily come through the film
that's true.
production. But we have data around it, and we have programs around collecting that data. We have several programs that we use to develop local filmmaking. I think we'll talk about that.
Yeah, we'll get into that as we go along.
But yeah, we're in a good place, and we're trying to improve that position by adding to the productions and to the jobs and to the film production expenditure by raising the level of local productions.
So things are happening there. It's not like a dormant situation where you have one every 10, 12 years, something like that. Somebody might think, because persons from abroad, they don't necessarily see the productions, or as a local, you might not see the cameras and so on going up in the different communities. So it's good to know that there's more than meets the eye.
There is. We can always do more, and that's what we've been working together to do with JAFTA and Jan. But we are in a good place, and we have a very talented core group of filmmakers. We have we can do about 2 or 3 feature films in Jamaica at the same time. So they're very skilled. We're trying to broaden that skill base so that we have more filmmakers in Jamaica doing more original productions.
Right. Before I get into the different initiatives that JAMPRO is pursuing, I want Analisa to weigh in on that topic for you. Based on where you sit and your organization, what's going on with filmmaking in Jamaica, and what's the status? What will we look like? How things going?
Well, I echo some of Tristan's comments in the sense that there is a momentum and a movement right now that's pushing more local films forward. So I would say, especially in the last 3 to 5 years, for JAFTA, or on our part, we were formed in 2015. And I think one of the important words is collaboration and community. Because more than an association, we are a film and TV community. And we actually have a lot of collaborative efforts between Jan and JAMPRO. And that has helped to support a lot of our members, because a lot of them are independent filmmakers, a lot of them are emerging talents, and they also get the benefit of being mixed with more experienced talent. So it's not a situation where certain people are isolated from another set. Everybody's kind of feeding off the movement of one. And when one person is successful, that actually inspires more. And you'll see what's happening too. A lot of persons are starting their little independent film festivals. We have wider ones like GATFest. You have in Mandeville, you have Lignum Vitae. There's some, I think UTech actually started one about 2 weeks ago. They had their first little film festival. So there is a growing interest, and people are seeing through the various opportunities that are put forward by JAFTA and JAMPRO and JAN that they can access. Because there was a time when filmmaking was kind of seen as an only accessible to a certain few and a certain demographic.
Very distant
but
because of the expense.
I think that
and
is
so
now
on.
shattered, or it's certainly that barrier is being broken down based on the community aspect, but as well with technology that allows persons to shoot.
That's it. Which brings me to the our next guest. We know that technology is the great equalizer, and based on the way technology is going right now, animation is really booming, and the opportunity, the barriers to entry are so low. You can get some software and get started. So talk to me, Kevin, about what you've been seeing insofar as the animation industry. We know that the government especially is pushing it. A lot of momentum is behind animation as a job, a career path, and potential economic earner for the country. So what's going on with animation from where you sit?
Okay. Things are going on great with animation right now. I'm echoing my two co-host thoughts in that the push to get animation growing in Jamaica has been going on for about 5 years now. And the government has been behind that all the way. They formed a project called the YEDI project, which stands for Youth Employment in Digital Animation Industries. And they have been pushing to get content created. They've been pushing for outsourcing. They've been pushing for, the education and upskilling of studios and animators. So within the past 5 years, we've seen animation courses and degrees at the University of the West Indies, University of Technology, EXED, Edna Manley, the Hart VTDI, and beyond that, we've been seeing the empowerment of the studios along the way. These studios have gone to markets like Kidscreen and MIPCOM, which are very important because this is where you learn what the international trends are. This is where you learn what you need to do to be a part of the global animation industry. I've also seen where more companies are looking to animation as a media to really promote their services. And over the weekend, the third staging of Kingston, which is our local festival, the biggest festival market in the Caribbean for animation, that is. And I've been to all three, and this one was definitely the best, the bigger. It was bigger than before. We saw some amazing animation. The animation has improved over the years, for sure.
So you see the interest there, you see the interest, you see the people showing up and trying to make the content, create the content.
People came in busloads to this event. When we were there Friday, there wasn't walking room on the UTech campus. Right? The interest is huge. From Jan's perspective, we get contacted from schools all the time to get involved with their clubs and help them out. In fact, our community development manager, Patrick Meikle, is going down to Alpha Academy right now to talk to the students about animation for their career day.
All right, wonderful. So, things are happening. People might see it and not, it's for those who are unaware, there's a lot going on in the sector, basically.
Yeah.
Now, let me touch on some of the initiatives, the specific initiatives that JAMPRO is pushing right about now to get things started, to get more persons getting into film production and television production and get themselves, moving away from the mentality that this is for those who have the means and so on alone,
Yeah. Okay, so just to add on to what Kevin said about the animation industry and the World Bank support, which has been really important to the growth of the industry. We have the Business of Sustainability of Studios program, the BOSS program.
Right.
And that comes out of the Youth Employment in Digital Animation Industries, a mouthful, but it's the YEDI. And the idea of the BOSS program, it's supposed to solve kind of a challenge that we have in the creative industries, which is we know what our creators are capable of. We know that they're passionate. We know that they just need the opportunity to get their content out there. The challenge is financing.
Right.
And so the idea of the BOSS program is to get both the investors and the creators to a point where they both understand each other's needs. So from the animator's perspective, the BOSS program is for studios. So the studios learn all of the business aspects of doing animation. They learn about their accounts. They learn how to position their content. What we call it is a kind of mini MBA. Okay. They learn how to go to market. So we also went to market in Kidscreen in Miami, as Kevin mentioned. And they found opportunities there through the BOSS program and through the training they're able to get. And we've seen growth because this is our second year now through the BOSS program. So we've seen growth. We've seen them better able to network, and we've seen their content on the world stage. And then on the investor side, what I think the narrative that persists with local investors is that they're risk averse. Which I mean, to be honest, it's true.
But it's not cheap making a movie. It's not
exactly,
cheap
exactly. And it can be risky if you don't understand the business. So the narrative is that they're risk averse and they're not interested in creative industries because there's much safer vehicles for their capital. What we've found through the BOSS program and through being able to communicate with them and to create and develop a program around their understanding of the film industry is that there are gaps in their understanding as well.
Okay.
They don't necessarily understand how to mitigate risks or what the risks are or what kind of returns. And so it's important, we think, that the government has a role to play there in terms of
matching the people so they can,
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
I know Propeller is another one that gets a lot of press, a lot of attention. Talk to me about that one.
So Propeller is a program that we have with our partners, JAFTA, and our partners, Chase, the Chase program as well. And the idea of Propeller is that we develop 5 short films every year. And we provide funding for $500,000 each to each filmmaker who goes through a process of selection, meeting certain criteria, and then they get trained for several months in terms of writing, directing, script editing. They develop the shorts and we take them to market. So last year they went to the Trinidad Film Festival, and then went to the Clermont-Ferrand Film Festival in France. And this is really critical when it comes to filmmaking. So I just want to make that clear that if you want to be a filmmaker, you want to make feature films, you have to be making short films. It's like a business card for the film industry. It shows what you're capable of. It also sends a signal to investors that you are putting in effort. Of course, as we're discussing, there are financial boundaries to that. Filmmaking is an expensive art. And so that $500,000 goes a long way. This is the 3rd year we've done a Propeller program, and out of it we have 15 short films. 14 short films.
Let Analisa pick up on that and just continue with that and what's going on there.
All right, just a segue, because again, one of our focuses is the developmental and capacity building aspect, because that's the only way to make this business of film and the creativity sustainable in Jamaica. So JAFTA Propeller came out of that desire to create an avenue, again, for emerging filmmakers to learn, because it's not just we give them $500,000 and go shoot a film.
Like that, right?
As Tristan mentioned, they go through a series of workshops, the most important being the script development aspect, because the story is the foundation of any good project, whether it's film or otherwise. That you can't, the cinematography can be great, but at the end of the day, if you want something to resonate internationally or locally, it comes from the story. You have to tell a good story. So they go through that process along with directing and producing as well. And a lot of the filmmakers, because JAMPRO facilitated the market attendance at the various film festivals in Clermont-Ferrand and otherwise, there really is a strong desire to see Jamaican content. When we go there and persons are like, oh, we didn't know Jamaica had filmmakers and we want to see your films. So there's definitely the appetite. And that appetite exists locally as well, because everybody's always, when are we going to see the Draft Propeller films, when they're showing them? And I have to use that as a segue as well, Vaughn.
Go ahead, buddy. This is what we're here for. Go ahead.
We're having,
look into that camera and tell people what's going on.
Tonight we're having the premiere of the 2018 Draft Propeller films, Agwe, Going Down, Safe Harbor, and one of the ones that have gotten the most buzz this year, Flight, which has actually won some awards at the Novo Regards Film Festival in Guadeloupe. It won Best Screenplay and Best Short Film at the Black Women in Film Network.
I want to stick a lick up in that, because one of the things that our platform does, about we find is a lot of diaspora persons that have a lot of interest as well. So where can they go if they want to, for example, see some of these films, or get in touch with you guys so they can get, because they want to feel that touch of that, maintain that connection with home, and filmmaking is excellent. But I mean, they might hear the films and hear about Draft Propeller and so on. Is there any way that they can link up with you guys and see the films, or get familiar, get acquainted, or anything like that?
Well, I can tell you, and I'm also, we'll bring Kevin on this, because he's also a director of JAFTA. He wears many hats.
All right.
But recently, we actually had some recent talks with Third Horizon Film Festival. They're actually a film festival based in the U.S., and they represent a lot of the diaspora and are constantly trying to find avenues to bring more of the Caribbean content on a whole into those overseas diaspora communities. I mean, certainly locally, we are trying to do more of the community screenings throughout the island.
Right,
that's definitely an initiative we are trying to drive more of as of this year, right, Kevin?
I'm sure many persons want to support the film, want to come and see. We just need to know where they are so we can go see them.
Right. But I do know that after some of them have done a run, there's some distributors online distributors or online distribution platforms such as Studio Nancy, which support Caribbean film content. So for those who are not based in Jamaica, once the films have screened locally and done their local run, you can try checking out that platform, because some of them and some other really good Caribbean films that you may not even know about are on that platform. So.
Studio Nancy, ladies and gentlemen. You heard it here, Studio Nancy. Check it out. See all kind of films. I'm sure it's great. Just to check in online, Carwayne Brown, thank you for tuning in, saying it's informative. Appreciate that, Carwayne. If you have any more questions, send them in so we can put them to our guests. And Avin Peralta Nichols saying this sounds excellent. So she appreciates the work that you guys are doing, which is great.
Thank you.
Great.
Right.
Thank you.
No, one of the things I want to ask in particular is, a young person out there, you might have a screenplay, you have an idea. What do I do next? Because it's very intimidating to say, all right, I have an idea for a film, I have an idea for an animated short, I have an idea for this, that, or the third. I can probably cobble together a screenplay based on things I see online. Where do I turn? Who do I go to? Do I, go to a person or a studio and just be like, hey, say a film, you're interested in making this? Or what do I do? You know what I mean?
I don't know if Kevin, you want to take this?
I saw that coming.
It's your turn.
All right. So what I'll say is, for aspiring filmmakers out there, it can be hard to break into the industry. That's why things like JAFTA exist, as well as JAN. And, there is a Facebook page called Jamaica Film Industry Facebook page as well. And these are essentially places that you can meet and network with producers, directors, actors, and all of that. And the thing is, traditionally what you would do is you would go to a producer with your script, and the producer would look at that script and determine whether or not, it has the potential to go further. And they might go and look for funding for that particular story. Now, being that Jamaica isn't at the stage yet where we have that type of industry, right? It doesn't exactly work like that, right? So how do you, jump that hurdle?
What do you do?
Right. So the first thing is, that's one of the gaps that Propeller solves. Propeller solves that gap in terms of, you can be a completely novice writer, but once you have a good story, because the submission for Propeller is a treatment. A treatment is basically like a 1 to 2 page summary of what your film is about, right? How it works out, first act, second act, third act. Then now, when that is selected through a blind submission process, the judges don't know who the treatments are from. They just choose the best story, the ones that resonate with them the most. Once you reach that process now where, you've been selected, you go through those workshops and so on, and they mold you, right? They give you a platform to show your films. There's also a film lab that has been created with the British Council, JAFTA, and JAMPRO, where, again, it looks at persons who have feature-length scripts. So if someone has a feature-length script, they can submit that, and if it has potential, they get selected and they go through a script development process. So those are some formal avenues. The other avenue that I would recommend to some people as well is if you have a story and you're not getting through one of these avenues, the internet is there. We have a certain access that we have not had before, right? Before the internet, you had to go to the TV stations. And everybody going to the TV stations, the chances of you getting through are very slim. Now with the internet, there are many platforms in terms of like YouTube. If you have a script and you have a camera or even a good cell phone, some friends from the drama club, you can get to work, do something, put it on YouTube. A lot of people do get discovered that way. If you believe that your product is good enough, right, you can talk to some video on demand platforms, negotiate your own deals. Right? In the case of you just filming your own stuff, once you film that stuff, you can show that at a film festival. You can submit to film festivals all over the world. You can show that to producers and directors. And if they like it, I've seen stuff on YouTube that locals have done, and I've contacted them and say, hey, I like this. It just needs a little bit of improvement. If you want, I'll even come on set and help you. There are avenues. There are ways to get around.
Can I add to that as well? As Kevin and Analisa have been saying, and you'll probably continue to hear that, the script development is the most important part of the process. Story is crucial.
Yep.
Coming out of the Film Lab program, which Kevin mentioned, the idea is that you get trained in script development from experts based in London. You get trained in distribution once your script gets chosen. And it's 6 projects actually, represented by teams of 3. So you have your writer, your script editor, and your producer, and they're all receiving this training. So this process where you develop the script, and then you get distribution training, and then you go through a pitching process where you get selected, and the teams that are selected get to go to the Berlin Film Festival, which they went to in February of this year, where again you get to pitch your project. It's the point of a film festival, right? You're selling yourself. And then out of that now, this culminated in our Film, Animation and Music Investor Forum, which we had just last week.
Right, I was going to ask you about that, yeah.
Yeah. Sorry for preempting you.
No, that's fine. But before I get there, I just wanted to ask, let me just check in online. Okay, so we have Plan Jamaica says, hi, we are looking for a film about migration. Has anyone addressed this topic in film? ? Maybe that's a free idea. That's up for you guys. You can take that and run out with it.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I feel like there is one, but it's not coming to mind right now.
Yeah, there was that Home Again film.
There was Home Again.
Film in Trinidad.
It will come to me maybe, but
Sprinter is kind of about migration.
To some degree, yeah.
It has that theme there.
Sprinter actually, it's not exactly that, but it does touch on a very
emotional undercurrent.
Because the barrel children thing is a very
it's a related theme. So
right.
Cargo touches on it.
But write that story.
Just do it.
Once it's a good story, write it.
Lee Manikia saying needed, so she sounds like she's backing up the ideas of creating these platforms for people. And is there a Facebook page for Plan Jamaica? That's a cross communication thing going on there.
Okay.
All right. So in terms of making the pitch, when you're in the room or you find a producer and you have an idea, what are some of the things that are, what are some tips you can provide to persons to make a good pitch? I mean, I suppose it's the same thing as pitching a business, but at the end of the day, it's film. What are some of the things, some of the buzzwords that producers are listening for when you come to them with a script or a screenplay or whatever the case may be?
I don't know who wants to take that, or
should I? You want to? Okay. Okay. Be clear about your story. I think what a lot of our filmmakers have learned through the training process that we've gone through, and just going online, you have to have your log line, which is have extremely simple distillation of your story that you can pitch. Get that out of the way early. Know your audience that you're pitching to. Know basic facts about your story, like the characters. Who are you pitching to? I think that's also
the three mantras that usually ring clear is: who are you pitching to, what are you pitching, and why should they care?
Right.
Because the fact of the matter is you're asking them to give you money to make your dream come true. Why on earth should they care about your dream? You know, they, as I always say to people, a patty shop want to sell patty, right? If you tell them that you want to make a film about immigration, they're going to say, why? Why should I, as a patty shop, do that? So when you're pitching, like he said, you have to have a log line, which is literally a 1 to 2 sentence version of your story. You should be able to get your story out in 10 to 30 seconds. Why? Because if you meet that investor that could give you the money, you might only have 30 seconds. Right. You might see him in the elevator. You might see him in the bathroom. You might see him running out to get to his, or her, right? And you need to pitch that story in 30 seconds with enough clarity for them to go, I like that story.
Take a chance on this one.
Right. And if after that log line they go, tell me more, then you can expand, you can talk more about the story. And what I can tell you now from a producer's perspective, right? Before it was an investor's perspective. From a producer's perspective, they're looking for a universal story, universal themes. And what that means is stories that can resonate all over the world, problems or challenges that most people recognize. So you can tell a very, very Jamaican story and it still be universal as long as it's challenges that people face. Like, for example, in Sprinter, it is about what we call barrel children. But the fact is, even if a barrel child is foreign to someone who lives in the States, for example, people can resonate with, the theme of, a absent parent in the home and the challenges of, trying to grow up with a drunk father or whatever the case is. People can relate to those themes.
That kind of thing.
Exactly. So those are the things that you really need to focus on. You need to present a film that is not too expensive for the Jamaican context.
See, I
don't go
many
pitching
have
Armageddon.
Ideas what is expensive, you know what I mean?
Well, put it this way: if you came to a producer in Jamaica and you said, "All right, I have this idea for a film. Jamaicans are going to go on the moon and they're going to battle some aliens," and the producer is going to say, "Stop, stop."
Right. Oh, he's like, "Oh, you mean a cartoon?"
Well, even in a cartoon, they're going to say to you, "Stop, stop."
Yeah.
But if you're telling a humble story, something that is very powerful, but at the same time, doesn't require car chases and, gunshots and explosions. That is something that can be easily sold. A story like Sprinter can be easily sold. It's much harder to do an Avengers here. We will get there someday, but at the stage that we're at, we really do need to focus on the story itself and pitching strong stories.
All right, go ahead, Analisa.
No, I was just adding to something that Kevin said. And even if you're going to explore a story that might go beyond a certain budgetary scope, then just be prepared to address that in a pitching session.
Yeah.
So it's not that they won't invest for X amount of money, but if you know that the script that you or the story you want to tell requires a larger budget, they're going to ask you, okay, so where are you going to get the rest of that money from? And you have to have a plan.
Right.
They're going to ask you those questions. They're going to ask you, the story, you have to be clear of the direction of your story. They're going to ask you, who is this going to appeal to? How is this going to be marketed?
Yep.
And it's a teamwork between yourself and your... I'm sorry, I'm taking it from the context where if you have a producer on your team already and you're reaching to distributors, both of you or all of you have to be prepared to answer all angles because, as Kevin said, no one's going to invest in your dream.
And just to add one last point, be passionate about your pitch. That's critical. If it's a comedy, people should be laughing when you're pitching.
Right.
Okay. If it's a tear-jerker, people should feel that when you're pitching.
Definitely.
That's not shining through in the pitch. It's uphill battle to convince them it will shine through when you actually make it.
I think that's very important.
Always pick the best person because sometimes maybe my strength isn't pitching,
Right.
but someone else on my team, they can grab. So know your strengths and utilize it effectively.
All right. So, I mean, one person online is asking if there's a Facebook page for all of your organizations.
Oh, yeah,
They can just
definitely.
let them know where they can check you out, JAFTA and Jamaica Animation Nation Network and so on, where they can find you and so on.
For JAFTA, our platforms are on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at JAFTA Online. And you can email us at info@jaftaonline.org.
And for the Jamaica Animation Nation Network, it's Animation Jamaica on Facebook and Instagram, and on Twitter it's Animate Jamaica. And they can message us there. They can see all of what's happening in the animation industry. We also do have a Facebook group, but that Facebook group is more for animators themselves.
Okay. All right. A lot of other persons just checking in. Wayne Paul saying getting some very good information here. Thanks much. Appreciate that, Wayne. Thank you.
I think I know Wayne Powell.
Says big up Kevin. So,
Okay.
all right.
Big
So
up, Wayne.
one of the questions I wanted to ask is in terms of our reception at film festivals. I based on what you were saying, that we try to push our films at a lot of film festivals, and that seems to be the location where you can get your foot in the door. But in terms of what we're presenting and the reception of it, what's that been like? What's that experience been like? Is there an appetite, so to speak, for the work that we're putting out here in Jamaica and I suppose the wider Caribbean region?
Absolutely. And this is why we're discussing earlier about the value of creative industries is in Jamaica. When you are from Jamaica, people immediately want to know what it is that you're creating. They want to see Jamaican content. And this is festivals across the board. This is animation festivals, film festivals, small and large. And even if they don't know Jamaica, because we've spoken to people like, for example, from China, it's like, where is, even if you say the Caribbean, there is an immediate interest. It is, that's the value that we have in the creative industries, that the work that has, the kind of visibility that we have in Jamaica already, that brand is very important to the creative industries, and we should be minding that. We should be making the most of that.
And people want new stories. That is the thing, People really, really want new stories, different perspectives. And I mean, one of the things I can tell you, Analisa told you already about one of our films, Flight, which won 2 awards at the Nova Regards in Guadeloupe, and the
Black Women in Film.
Right. Beyond that, there are several other films that have won awards at film festivals, both locally and overseas. And this is like, going over the years. It's just that, like you were saying, many people don't get a chance to see them because it is a challenge to get them on, say, for example, a TV platform. Because short films come in all different time lengths, and TV has specific programming, requirements. This is why digital streaming has become so popular, because Netflix and Studio Anansis, your Quellies, they don't have a restriction on the amount of time that the film has to be. So it's been a struggle to get people to see these films. They might pop up in the newspaper, once or twice, or they might pop up on JIS feed once or twice, but because it's not constantly in people's face, we're not aware of all of the films that are really making a lot of noise, outside of Jamaica.
I should just add, we actually recently reached out to JIS about collaborations on more screenings, and that's something that we're going to look into closer to end of the year.
Yeah, we definitely, because the platform we need to strengthen the platform so more persons can get their work out there. I figure once people see that their work has a platform to be displayed, you'll see the thing just flooding in left, right, and center.
Right.
But the feedback has been good, especially among the more Afrocentric and diaspora-intensive film festivals in North America, and they have a couple in Europe as well, actually. And as Tristan was saying, the brand Jamaica already, that gets you the foot in the door.
Right.
Now you have to support it by being passionate, as you said, about your film, pitching it correctly, and supporting it with the content that will say, okay, I've seen this, I want to see more now.
Yeah, right.
So
Let me switch back to animation itself and animated works. How about that? How I mean, I've seen a couple of animated things and things that come up and from time to time they do well, but I understand animation is a lot more labor intensive and a lot more just intensive all around perhaps. And so that is perhaps a barrier. But how are we doing in terms of creating the material and getting it out there?
Okay, well, in terms of creating the material, as you said, there's a lot of little animations out there, but the type of animations that are really of the quality that we can export or even make money from locally, we're getting there. Not quite there yet, but we're very, very close. Over the weekend at Kingston, there was Listen Me Caribbean, which won many awards for character design, storyboard, and best concept. Their concept was very, very good, very universal, about a little girl with a very galactic imagination. And she was at Kids Screen on one of the missions, and believe me, I remember, because I was at the Kids Screen with them as well, and I remember almost any time you spent at Jamaica booth, somebody came by asking about that particular IP and that particular studio, right? We also have Liquid Light Digital producing a series as well. Now, a series really takes a lot of effort, a lot of funding, because what is standard in the world right now is 52 episodes, 11 minutes long, right? And that's a lot of content. You're looking at hundreds of minutes of content, right? Or thousands of minutes of content. And it takes a lot of capital. So you look for things like co-production deals, which is basically you forming an alliance with another animation company, outside, which might have more funding than you or more resources in terms of, staff, that you can combine forces and work on this animation. You have situations where you can get financing from a production company that sees your product and thinks that it can go far. Of course, there will be certain stipulations where that is concerned. But what I always say to people is that we have to bear in mind that we're very, very young at animation right now. We're literally a seed, right? We're that germination phase, and we're watering that seed, and we're seeing it start to sprout. But we have to, just like film, we have to just keep pushing, and it's growing. I can tell you from Kingston 2013 and 2016, 2019, I see the product progression. 2013, you saw some animations that were like some okay student work type of thing. 2016, you saw things are getting a little bit more polished. We look like we have some products that we can try to push out. 2019, the products look, in my opinion, very, very viable. The type of stuff that you would say, yeah, I could definitely watch this on TV. So I have no doubts by the next Kingston we're going to see something that is probably on TV, right? So, yeah.
In terms of, there are a lot of persons at home now probably around the computer and trying to do it, independently or just collaborating with me and my friend. So we have an idea for a series and we put together and, So there's a lot of work to create even a 5-minute, for example.
Yeah, definitely.
So in terms of creating or building out, how do you build like an animation studio so that you and your friends can collaborate, for example, and build a product? Because I figure that's one of the biggest things. People might think I can do it by myself, and then when they really see it and try and do it, it's just too much work. It's just,
That has been a particular challenge, the thing about doing it by yourself. A lot of people believe they can do it by themselves. Right. And the honest truth is, to an extent, they are right. However, I guarantee you that after you've done that first episode, you're going to be burnt out. Right? It's one of those things, because it's so labor intensive, you can get burnt out quick. One of the things that happens a lot is animators have this thing called the animator high, and then they have that animator burnout. And that animator high is when you hit a momentum and you're able to push out that episode and you say, wow, I did that in a month, or I did that in whatever time. If I just keep on doing this, but then after you finish that month, you don't even want to touch the screen. You don't even want to watch a cartoon. You're just tired, right? Because it's intense. So really and truly, people should be forming alliances. And it can't just be animators. The thing about animation, and it is just like film, The difference is that you're creating the characters from scratch and you're creating the backgrounds from scratch. But it is just like film. The more people that play their part, the better the quality of the animation, the faster the animation will be finished, the smoother the animation will be. And we proved this with a film called Agwe, which won second place Best Short Film at Kingston. That was a collaborative project. We got 2 background artists from UTech. We got a character rigger from UE. We got prop designers and character designers from the Heart VTDI. We had 3 animators who worked in studios locally, so they were able to do the animation side of things. We had a scriptwriter, we had a storyboard artist, we had backup animators, we had somebody doing the music, somebody designing the costumes. And it sounds like a lot, but that's the thing. Animation, like film, hires a lot of people. And this makes it less labor intensive. When they combine, the quality is so much better. And people saw it at the Kingston Festival. When they saw it there, even Wayne Carnegie, who is a Jamaican animator who works in Canada, he works on big productions over there, Nut Job and other stuff like that. He said when he saw it, he didn't think it was done in Jamaica, right? And that is because we gave everybody their separate role. If one person tried to do Agwe, it would not look good. And it probably would not be finished all no. Right? So, exactly. But in terms of equipment, you just need a computer with good specs. This is just to do the animation and the character design. You just need a computer with good specs being, I would say these days, don't go with anything less than 1 terabyte of hard drive space. Don't go with anything with a graphic card that has less than 4 gigabytes of RAM. In fact, I would recommend 8 and higher. 4 is getting outdated or is outdated. And in terms of memory, like 16 to 32 gigabytes of RAM. And the OS is up to you, the software is up to you, even though the standard for 3D is Maya. And 3D Studio Max, and the standard for 2D is Toon Boom, Flash, Moho, that sort of thing. But yeah, that's what you would need to get started in terms of collaborating. Generally speaking, you should have a network server, but if you're just starting out, that's going to be a huge expense because a server needs to be on 24/7, it needs an AC to cool it, so on and so forth, needs backup, whatever. But what you could do is you could always share a Google Drive or share a Dropbox, have all the files served there, and when you're saving your files, you save them in that central location so everyone has access to them, and you can collaborate. And it's going to require a project manager per se, right? Somebody who is checking with everybody to find out where have you reached with this scene, where have you reached with that scene, have you saved the file yet? Remember to save the file by X time so that we have all the files, back up those files, blah, blah, blah. Otherwise, you can kind of get lost. Yeah, but that's what's
left to each other, left to their own independent lives and so on.
Yeah, that is, working remotely is a nightmare, especially if the person's working remotely are not professional. When they're professional, it works. But if they're not, having them in one space is ideal.
All right, let me just jump in with a quick question from Candice Christian. She's asking, are there plans to merge gaming and coding with the current work taking place, especially with Girls in ICT Day coming up? That seems to be another avenue for animation, getting into gaming and it's that kind of thing. It's
interesting you say that, and gaming is lagging behind a little bit, but there is actually a Jamaica Game Developer Society, right? It's not as formalized as JAFTA and JAN. It's just a group of persons who like creating games, and they have this space online where they network and interact. Beyond that though, Listen Me Studio, they actually every February partake in this international event. It's called a hackathon. So persons get together and they, over the course of 2 days, they create games. They form teams and they create games and they post them online. And the persons who attend this event are coders, animators, writers, and so on. Just like animation, it requires a collaborative effort. I do see it becoming a much stronger industry soon because we have it in CXC Cape, and a lot of people experiment with it on their own. I think it's just a matter of them formalizing the same way Jan and JAFTA formalize. Some people, they don't see the purpose of an association, but the thing with an association is, just like what I was saying with the production, there's a difference between coming together as a group and just interacting, as opposed to coming together as a group, choosing a leadership body, and that leadership body says, okay, these are our goals, this is what we're aiming for. In the case of Jafta and Jan, we're trying to create more content and we're trying to expose the content. So constantly, Analisa can tell you, we talk all the time, and it's all about, all right, how are we going to expose these films from Propeller so more people can see them, because, not enough people seeing them.
Right.
That is what that formalization does.
Right.
So,
and to add to that is how we collaborate. That's how a group of people in an industry collaborate with the government and lobby, so that we can lobby on their behalf. That's how we communicate with the industry. So really, if you're not a part of JAFTA or JAN, you're missing a lot of the updates. And yes, ideally, being a part of it means going to the meetings, paying your dues, etc. But it also means just joining the Facebook group, joining the Twitter and the Instagram, and staying in the loop, and being a part of the community.
All right. So the last thing I want to touch on was the National Film Fund that JAMPRO is trying to work on, and then we can move into wrapping things up. Just talk to me about that.
Okay, so the idea of the National Film Fund is that it would be a private-public fund contributed by both the private and the public sector. We're targeting $4 million US for the first year. Right now, we're in the phase of developing the fund. So we've had consultations for about 2 years, and now we're developing the final report, which we'll then submit to Cabinet. And the idea is that this fund will be a pool of resources that our filmmakers need to basically make films. There's going to be an independent body that, we're finalizing the guidelines, but the idea is that there'll be an independent body that administers the funds, that judges the content that is submitted, and that communicates with the investors to the fund. But a lot of that is currently being finalized, so we don't want to say anything too concrete at the moment, but that's the concept of the fund. And if, as we anticipate, all goes well, it will be kind of like a bank for local creatives to tap into to create their films, TV shows, animated projects, and to collaborate with international producers, the co-production, so that they can start seeing more Jamaican content.
All right, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. As you can see, lots was discussed, and there's a lot going on in the film and movie making industry in Jamaica. There's a lot, and if you want to get into it and really understand, we are part of the movement, you have to get in contact with Jamaica, with JAFTA and Jan, and see what's going on, so you can put your hat in the ring.
And JAMPRO.
Definitely, of course. As that fun, people always tend to think that it's mostly overseas people who link up with JAMPRO. So link up with JAMPRO as well, so you can get some information, get the well-needed information, and they can point you in the direction of the resources that you can use to hopefully make your own film, get yourself out there, and Jamaica, the industry as a whole, can move up. As they say, the rising tide lifts all ships.
Yep.
Yes.
So the more persons are out there getting their films made and out there, the more opportunities will be created for others.
Yes.
And don't forget social media as well, YouTube, all the other Instagram, all these other platforms that provide opportunities for you to upload your stuff, and hopefully other persons will see you and then contact you, and maybe you get that lucky call. You might be that next big producer, whatever the case may be. All right, so I'm going to give you the last words to each of you, just to encourage youngsters out there to follow their dream, to really just scratch that filmmaking itch that they might have.
Well, I'll give my last words from the JAMPRO perspective. Yes, it's about passion, it's about making your dream projects, it's about kind of making your art, basically. But what we try and emphasize is that you also have to have one eye on the market, on what the market is demanding, on the industry standards of the content that you're making. It's like, if you're making a song, generally speaking, you have a verse and a chorus and a verse and a chorus, right? If you're making a film and it doesn't have the elements that we generally recognize for a film, you're making life very hard for yourself. So you want to understand the craft and understand what it is that the market is asking for, and we do a lot of training in that regard, and work very closely with JAFTA and Jan to do that.
All right.
Yeah.
Analisa, your turn.
What I would say to emerging filmmakers and youth in general, if you have an idea or some kind of creative project that you want to do, don't be daunted. Literally just do it. A lot of the persons that have come out of our related programs have been first-time writers, first-time filmmakers, and even outside of the formal programs, you can reach out. If you know someone in the industry, contact them. It's so important, as Kevin said, to reach out to the organizations. And JAFTA is not just for filmmakers, it's for actors, if you're involved in the technical aspects as well, sound design and all these things. If you don't have a film society at your school, start one. Come to us for assistance, we'll help you. Just reach out. One of the lead actors in Sprinter, Ellie, Storm saw him on his IG page. So if you're interested in acting, put yourself out there. Let people see you. Find any find any medium to put yourself in a public space. And as Kevin said, make use of the online resources. Go to a library, find a book, purchase one on Amazon. The resources are out there.
Yeah. All right, Kevin.
Yeah, pretty much they said it all, just do it. If you really want to get into the animation industry, there are many, many avenues. One avenue is training it starts at CXC now. If you have art, you have information technology, that's a foot in the door. Now we have animation formally as a CAPE subject, animation and gaming. So that's another step, that improves your chances. And all of the universities have animation courses now, UEU Tech, Hart VTDI, Edna Manley, EXED. So in terms of training, there's no excuse. There are many avenues for it, and training is important. Yes, you can teach yourself. I'm self-taught. Many of the great animators in Jamaica right now are self-taught because when they started, none of these educational platforms existed. And within the space of 5 years, we have a plethora of them now. So I'm looking forward to seeing what the next generation brings. They're going to bring amazing work. I've seen the stuff the students have done, and it's incredible, right? Just do it. Create stuff. Enter festivals. Reach out to your associations. Form alliances. Collaborate. We really are looking for more content, and the more content that exists, the easier it is to really promote and push this industry and get the investments that we need.
All right, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. The ball is in your court. If you have a script, you have a story, you have an animation, an idea for a cartoon, anything, just get started. I think that's the essential message. Just get started. There is support out there for you. There are opportunities out there for you to take advantage of. There are associations that are more than willing to help you. So it's really just up to you. All right. Thank you to our guests for joining us. This has been a very fruitful discussion. We've learned a lot. I learned a lot myself, and I hope you can take advantage of this and make your own dream come true. I know it's time for us to wrap. Thank you to everyone who tuned into our discussion, especially those of you who sent in questions and comments. We really appreciate them. And if you sent in a question and we didn't get to answer it, not to worry. We can always go back through and send them to our guests so they can make connection with them that way and get the questions answered and so on. Remember, our audience plays a major part in our show. If there's anyone in particular you'd like us to have in studio, let us know and we'll have them in studio as soon as possible. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. We're there at Jamaica Information Service. We do this every Thursday live on Facebook. I've been your host, Vaughn Davis, and this has been Studio 58A Live. Thank you for joining us, and please have a wonderful day.